Did you catch that? Lamar stated his views on police brutality with that line in the song, quote, "And we hate the po-po, want to kill us in the street, faux show."
Not helpful at all. This is why I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans than racism in recent years.
There's a meme floating around with text caption over a photo of the rapper young Jeezy at his son's graduation saying, "He taught his son to study and rise, but he told your sons to trap or die." Apparently, the meme stems from Rod Wave lyrics for his song True Story, where he echoed a similar sentiment singing, "Jeezy told us to trap or die, but told his sons to go to college." This got me thinking, to what extent are rappers responsible for their influence on their listeners, or does the responsibility lie solely on the parents or guardians of young music listeners to shield their child's ears from potential harmful and vulgar lyrics? In the early days of hip-hop, lyrics were relatively simple and harmless. In the beginning, hip-hop started off as fun, party music, meant to get block parties jumping and people dancing, and rappers' lyrics reflected this. Their lyrics largely centered on braggadocio, confidently boasting about their skills on a microphone, and generally turning the party up, with call and response lyrics like Curtis Blow's 1980 song, The Breaks. But the 1980s also brought along a group that would redefine the genre for decades to come. In a previous video, I mentioned how Southern California group NWA brought gangster rap to the forefront of the culture, and how, ironically, the group's frontman and in-house producer Dr. Dre was faking the life he was living. What I didn't mention was how the group's music was outright lambasted by law enforcement agencies, protested against by conservative activist groups, and banned on the airwaves by radio stations. Combined, these groups created enough criticism for NWA to be one of the first musical acts to have the Parental advisory label attached to their album covers. Despite this, NWA's first album would go on to become double platinum in the US alone, and its themes of political and social commentary would go on to influence many of its listeners, including some who would pick up the pen for themselves. One such artist would be the young Tupac Shakur. I also made a video about Tupac in the past, and when discussing his origin, I mentioned how his early life, growing up in impoverished areas of Baltimore and being raised by his Black Panther mother, shaped the young Tupac, and he would later grow up to speak on the systemic inequality prevalent in American society. Pac believed that as the voices of the downtrodden, rappers had the power to affect real social change, and with this great power comes, well, you already know. But seriously, Tupac was adamant in stating that rappers had a moral responsibility to speak truth to power, while athletes like Michael Jordan avoided speaking on political issues in fear of losing brand deals and corporate dollars, or his contemporary Charles Barkley definitively stating that he wasn't a role model. Tupac boldly asserted that rappers had a moral responsibility to uplift their communities and use their platforms to expose injustice rather than simply entertain. This stance would become decidedly more ambiguous with the popular artists that would emerge in the years following Shakur's death. The early 2000s would prove to be a genre-defining time for hip-hop. It was arguably the most commercially popular era in the genre's history. Former NWA member Dr. Dre's protege Eminem ascended to massive levels of success never seen before or after by hip-hop. Eminem found success in emulating NWA's vulgarity and abrasiveness, but he innovated in taking this to another notch. Drug abuse, domestic abuse, as well as graphic fantasies of murder, assault, and revenge were not off the table. These lyrics were often framed through his Slim Shady persona for shock value and to provoke reaction. And that's exactly what he did. After the 1999 Columbine shooting, conservative media, eager to place the blame on something, argued that violent media, including movies, video games, and especially music, were among the causes for the shooting. The finger pointing started, Eminem was caught in the crossfire. Critics argued that his dark and misogynistic lyrics actually glorified violence and was one of the contributors as to why the shooting occurred. Eminem defended himself by citing his freedom of speech and claiming that controversy helped media ratings. which gave them incentive to keep framing him as the villain. He also repeatedly clarified that his violent or shocking lyrics came from a character, Slim Shady, not his literal beliefs. But when asked in an interview if he would play his music for his kids, he said, "Not all of it I play for. Some songs got a lot of cussing, so I'll make a clean version, cause I protect my child, not yours." While this was obviously said in jest, he doubled down on his sentiment by rapping in his 2002 song, "My Dad's Going Crazy, I Don't Blame You, I Wouldn't Let Haley Listen to Me Neither." Clearly, early 2000 rapper Webby felt the same way, as in an interview, the rapper's son said that his father made a conceited effort to keep his children away from hip-hop music.
I ain't never met Boosie. My first time meeting Boosie was like last year or this year. My dad kept us away from that shit, for real. Like, he was like, "No, that y'all go to school. There's somebody playing this song in the car, he gonna say, turn that shit off, put on fucking Minnie Mouse or some shit, Mickey Mouse or something, put on some shit that's for the kids."
Are you recognizing a pattern here? For better or worse, rappers are heralded as role models in impoverished communities, as they symbolize everything impoverished youth would aspire to have, flaunting their wealth, luxurious lifestyles, and material success. Despite this knowledge of the role they play in underprivileged communities, most still consciously move forward, promoting narratives that often prioritize materialism, status, and spectacle over substance, all the while shielding their loved ones from the same lyrics. After already introducing the game to Eminem just years prior, Dr. Dre continued his wave of domination by bringing in the arrival of 50 Cent. Just as Gary Cooper's strong, silent persona on TV and movies made boys in the 60s and 70s enamored with achieving this idea of masculinity they saw depicted on the screen, 50 Cent was that for hip-hop. Sporting tank tops that showcase his muscle-bound frame, spending upwards of $300,000 on spinning G-Unit chains, and a video game made from his likeness, 50 Cent was more akin to an 80s action star than a rapper. The embodiment of masculinity and cool, 50 Cent inspired entire generations to emulate him by getting rich or dying trying. 50 Cent was a force in the industry, going so far as to bully radio executives into not playing his ops music. However, just as quickly as he rose to the top by defeating the then biggest street rappers at the time, Ja Rule, in a rap battle, another artist would soon swoop in and snatch 50's crown from atop his head, dethroning street rap as the most popular rap subgenre. In 2007, Kanye West's Graduation outsold 50 Cent's Curtis, signaling the downfall of street rap and the rise of conscious hip-hop, ultimately resulting in 50 only dropping 2 albums since that time. While very few can relate to selling crack or being shot 9 times, Kanye's underdog story was much more identifiable, and his college style much more attainable. Kanye's lyrics were also more progressive, rapping about self-consciousness, consumerism, systemic inequality, faith, internal struggles with identity, rather than glorifying violence or street mythology. In fact, on his 2005 song Jesus Walks, he criticizes rappers for not using their platforms more to speak on issues regarding their community, saying, "We rappers is role models. We rap, we don't think." For a while, after this conscious rap returned to the forefront of hip-hop, like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, who would eventually go on to become 2 of the genre's big 3, rappers like Lil Wayne were still dominant as well, and they would willingly admit that they had no intentions of discussing societal issues in their music, preferring to keep rap strictly superficial. There is an infamous Facebook meme criticizing Chicago's rap hypocrisy, in, on one hand, advocating for peace and positivity, but in the same breath, playing violent music on the next spin. In this case, specifically G Herbo's Kill Shit. Another quote meant to be taken in jest, but just like all great jokes, there's a hidden layer of reality to them. That contradiction isn't just a radio problem, it's a window into hip-hop's evolution itself, revealing how the culture moved from elevating artists who challenge listeners to think to rewarding those who simply capture attention. What makes this cultural shift even more interesting is how far the genre has drifted from an era where artists like Kanye were celebrated for centering black women with reverence, introspection, to a climate where viral success is increasingly driven by shock value, hypersexual caricature, and algorithm-friendly spectacle, embodied by figures like Sexy Red. So where does that leave artists in ownership of how their lyrics shape the next generation? With the lack of censorship prevalent across the wide scope of the internet, there are no longer any buffers from preventing kids from consuming content that could be easily detrimental in shaping their developing minds. Clearly, artists are more mindful of the impact they have in shaping their kids' music sensibilities, so there has to be a conscious decision made on both fronts. In J. Cole's song addressed to Lil Pump, he warned the rapper that eventually fans will grow up and move on from admiring his tired gimmicks and material success. And given that Lil Pump hasn't released a song that cracked the Billboard Hot 100 since 2019, obviously Cole's statement proved to be true. It is at this point a rapper has to decide what kind of artist they want to be. One who chases the fleeting success of their wonder years, desperate to ingratiate themselves into a game that has long since moved on, into deciding that they want to actually grow alongside their aging listeners. And on the other hand, parents or guardians have to take actionable steps to monitor what their child consumes, like Eminem, Webby, and Lil Wayne do. Because if it was left up to 50 Cent or Young Jeezy, your child would be getting rich by trapping or dying.